You're listening to a 4x4 Radio Network podcast.
Hey Jeepers, welcome to show 87. 87, man. That's about almost as fast as I don't drive.
That's a bigger number than my age.
So, I am Scott, the slapstick parts guy, and I do not read instructions. I'm always constantly yelling someone, maybe including the Jeep Lab or somebody else, help, I need help, to poor Kevin, and to my directly across of me.
I'm Kevin, the engineer. You know, the guy, according to Scott, was around when Jeeps had dirt floors and tools were carefully selected sticks. But regardless, I do tend to read the instructions, try to use the right stick, and then follow those instructions.
I picture myself zip tying a rock to a stick.
Zip ties didn't exist. Then we used those rawhide thongs thingies to tie them down.
Rawhide thongs.
That's
okay.
what they were called. Okay, and that's not the underwear.
Moving on before this dangerously spirals out of control. So while we will share what worked for us as well as what didn't,
yeah, it's up to you
to read the instructions, do your research.
And please follow those instructions, even though Scott got the intro out of order.
A little bit, yeah. So live and not at all direct from the Wrangler Fix Studios. We're currently over here at the Tampa Jeep Lab with Marc Lawson, right? Did I say it at the time?
Lawson.
I always want to add an R to that.
You know what? Growing up, everyone always said that. Marc Lawson. I don't know what it is, who the famous Larson person is, but yeah.
I know the name somewhere, but no, I always
Far
knew
Side.
that.
If I could redo my name, it would be Marc
Side.
with a K and Larson, just because that's what everybody calls and writes down.
Yeah.
But it's M-A-R-C, right?
It is.
M-A-R-C.
It is. My family, grandmother's from Canada, so French-Canadian. That's where the C comes from.
Okay.
Sweet.
And then also the Lawson, just remember, he's the law.
You know what? I agree with that. I agree with that.
So we're back over here at his shops because the last show where he hosted us talking to Wrangler Fix and added some very interesting and poignant color, we decided we might as well just come and talk to the master himself.
And I always forget because I forget names so fast, and it's been a week. It was Mark and Adrian. No, Kevin.
Try again.
No, I can't. I forgot his name already. I'm terrible.
Andrew,
yes.
There we go.
Andrew, if your name's not Andrew, I apologize. It is now. So Mark, welcome to our humble little Jeep podcast. How are you today?
Good. Thanks for having me. I know we've crossed paths a lot, and we kept talking about doing this, and here we are again today. So it's awesome to be here.
We're finally here, and even though this is his second time, he actually agreed to let us come back. What a novel concept.
Yeah, I think that the check we wrote him cleared. That's why. The sad thing is,
cough.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, other than that, Mark, you've become almost a force to be reckoned with in the Tampa Bay area. I mean, you've become highly recommended by a lot of people. You've got a very strong
More
following.
than just your parents.
Yeah.
More than just your parents.
Even though they do keep me in business.
And me and Kevin just wanted to say thank you for that day of teaching the class. You and your group, man, that is a very engaged and very not just an established wheeler, but you guys knew your stuff, and it was a pleasure having that class.
I appreciate you guys.
It was
big
nice
time.
being challenged and thought-provoking questions. That was awesome.
We
really
learned a
was.
lot.
Yeah, and talking to the group from West Tampa Jeepers that you guys did that for, they all loved it too, and really appreciated you guys and learned a lot. Unfortunately, not long before the class, there was an incident that happened with some fellow Jeepers out on the trail, and so in a lot of their heads now, it's like, hey, we do need to take this a little bit more seriously, and I say that when I'm out with people, but until they see something, they kind of, it's in the back of their mind when it should be in the front.
It's sad but true. It's very sad, but it is true. And we used a little bit of the experience from that as content in one of our shows to try and spur a few folks to take some time and realize that that little lump of wire and steel and synthetic cable on the front of their Jeep is really a pretty powerful tool. Yeah. It just moves slow, so everybody underestimates what it can do.
With great power comes great responsibility.
Yeah.
Well, let's just put it bluntly. As we were having lunch the other day, if you take the average 9,000-pound winch with a steel cable and you slid it under that Jeep, looped it over the top, and then hooked it to itself and started winching, you could probably just about cut a Jeep in half with it.
Yeah.
It might take a while, and you'd hear lots of scary noises while it was happening.
Including the owner going, no.
Exactly.
What did I do?
And I don't recommend doing that, but
Yeah.
there's enough power in that winch to do some serious damage, as well as you need that power to do some serious rescue.
Yeah.
Yep.
So anyway.
So why don't we tell us a little bit about yourself, Mark, because this obviously is your show. So why don't we start from the very beginning? When the Earth crust was cooling, I'm sorry,
He reserves that for me normally.
Yeah, that's Kevin's joke. Sorry.
No, he came along probably when I was a teenager or some 20-year-old or
84-year-old.
Or married.
84? Holy cow, I was playing with G.I. Joes then.
No, I was married 2 years and shifting careers around, and I'm getting old.
Yeah, so am I.
Oh,
so,
well.
so Mark, so tell us a little bit about yourself, buddy.
Yeah.
What makes Mark tick?
Well, I am a Tampa native.
Right.
So I think that definitely helps a lot with the business. Is I've known a lot of people here, family reached out a lot of people here, but born and raised in Tampa, went to high school here, went to college here, served in the military here. So man, you can't get any more native to Tampa than I guess me. So
So so if it's Tampa, you had to be a name high.
yep,
Awesome.
we got Air Force. So
Air Force.
definitely.
And what was your MOS and not by number but by description for those that don't know the codes?
we did some logistics and some crew chief stuff with the 135s.
Okay. So
So definitely thought it was going to be my full time, 20 years, but things happen, life happens, and decided to go a different route. But still love the military. Still have some of my closest friends are still in. I actually get to see some this weekend. But yeah, man, a lot of family in the military as well. Pretty much everybody but my parents were military.
awesome.
Wow, that's
So
cool.
Well,
you'll probably hear a lot of references to my aunt in this podcast. She's still active duty Coast Guard. She's had a big influence on the Jeep Lab, and she'll be here a permanent fixture as soon as she retires after 30 plus years. So
Awesome.
Well,
awesome.
thank her for her service for
I'll
us.
thank all of your family for their service, and you included. Personal experience, I know what you guys do and what you live through. So
yeah.
Well, we'll get to Ragnarok here in a little bit. So so other than that, man, so what got you interested in the Jeeps?
My first Jeep was a CJ, and it was nice. It was lifted. I loved it. Had it in high school. And
your parents are nice.
no, it was go get a job, take the bus till you save up enough money to get a vehicle. So
No, my
definitely
mom and
was
dad
not
were like, no Jeep, those things roll over and kill you.
Thank you.
I think I heard my mom say that a couple times, but
Thank you, Ralph Nader.
yeah, the story gets a little bit closer to those lines, and I take 100% responsibility for it. I was going out camping. I was in a program called the Civil Air Patrol, which is like a junior ROTC. So I did that when I started like 6th grade, but we were camping. I was in high school by then, and I was like, man, of course, taking the Jeep, I'll take the top off. I had a nice hard top, unbolted it all, and I was like, you know what, maybe I should go look at the weather this weekend. And went and checked, possibility of rain. I was like, no, I'll leave the top on. Well, didn't put the bolts back. Started driving down I-75, heard the wind coming through the lip, and I was like, oh no. So I grabbed up to reach on it, and there it went. Stupid little 16-year-old kid watching his hardtop fly off on I-75. And by the time I turned around to look and make sure I didn't hit anybody, the Jeep was starting to go off the road. The grass was wet. As soon as I barely turned the wheels locked, and I flipped it 8 times going 70 miles an hour. Landed it right side up, was knocked out for a little bit, and thankfully the gentleman behind me gathered all my stuff up. I woke up, no serious injuries. Jeep was totaled, climbed out the back since the body was jammed, and then took me a long time to get back in a Jeep after that. Again, not the Jeep's fault, completely my fault, but the whole being up high. Those CJs had a little bit more of the fishbowl effect when you were driving them when they were lifted. And I knew I loved the Jeeps. I knew I wanted to get back into them, but it took me a little bit to get back in one and be comfortable with them.
Yeah, it's kind of tough when you're thrown on a horse like that or have a horse roll over on you, literally. 8 times. Wow.
Wear your safety belt. I would not be here today if I did not have my safety belt on that day.
Good advertisement for that.
I didn't even know this story, so it's like all of a sudden the gear shift knob of my jokes just went not appropriate.
Hey, I'm here today, so you can joke about it all you want.
All right, well, we'll just roll with those jokes.
See what you did there.
No, sorry, I can't help it.
It's his nature.
It's a sickness. So obviously it took you some time to get back into Jeeps, I mean, so basically it was after high school service, and then, came home and decided, you know what, I have too much money. Let me throw it away in a Jeep.
Yeah. I thought I got a pretty good deal on a Jeep, which nowadays I did. I bought my 97 TJ, It was it's the one I still have today. Tank
it's
to
a green
TJ.
one there?
It is now OD green. It is bedlined. I got it in 2008. Actually, is when I got back into the Jeep stuff. The mechanic side, really, of everything was thanks to my stepdad, and I'll probably refer to him as Dad for the rest of the show. Just keep it simple. But he was a parts guy. Rose Auto Parts, got all the old school auto parts stores in Tampa for years and years. And, that first thing, hey, Mom, Dad, I need an oil change. And my mom looked at me and goes, no, you're going with your dad. You're going to get the car. You're going to go get the stuff to do it. And everything on all my vehicles was always in the driveway with my dad. We didn't have YouTube back in the day, but, you pull out your Chilton's manual.
Chilton's, Haynes, and Kleinman.
Yes.
Yeah. And, all right, well, you got this truck, so now we need to go get your manuals. And that's how we pretty much did everything. Went through a couple motors in a truck I had. And, honestly, I think if it weren't for him being there and my mom's mentality, no, we don't just send stuff off to people. We're going to do it here if you can do it, So, and cool. That's how the mechanic stuff and then just the love for Jeeps kind of came together.
So how'd you get started in the business, though? Did you start with working with friends, or how'd you?
Yeah, my house at the time kind of became that place where a lot of people were coming over and getting stuff done on the weekends and at nights. Actually went through a divorce. I was married for 5 years. We were together about 10, but I always wanted to do this, and without going too much into it, that was a dumb idea back then.
Yeah.
The divorce was a great opportunity for me. I had no huge mortgage. We didn't have any kids. My bills went down dramatically. And I said, if I was ever going to make the jump, I don't have much to lose right now. So,
wow. Talk about making, lemonade out of lemons.
Yeah. And, my shop isn't the biggest. It's not the fanciest. But, I take pride in it. I'm slowly growing the shop. I'm getting more and more room here at the shop. I love that I don't owe the Snap-on guy. When he rolls by, I just wave and tell him to keep going. I've got my stuff, and
it's funny you said that, because my dad, 30 years, again, I refer to my stepdad as Dad because that's just how I do it. You are still drinking that PB Blaster, aren't you?
Hey, PB Blaster, man! You guys give up on Monster and Red Bull. Get you a PB Blaster.
He's got a PB Blaster water koozie. It's kind of funny.
Oh yeah, I forgot not everybody can watch. Yeah.
You come in here and he grabs it and he keeps going, oh no, wrong way.
I think this actually came from SEMA when we were there. I think they were handing them out there.
Well, why is everything I'm using this on rusting worse? No, I refer to my dad because my dad's 30-year master tech, and he takes the new kids under his belt. And first thing he tells them, he's like, the Snap-on, sometimes you just got to buy a tool from them. Yeah. But the Cobalt and the Snap-on, or the Sears Craftsman and the Cobalt and all those kind of husky tools fix a car just as good as the other ones.
I'm sorry, I have to jump into that memory just on your wording choice. Under his belt? What kind of training did he give you? Did he strap you? Because usually it's under your wing.
Thank you.
But you're sitting here. I have visions go, whack! No, you're not doing it. Whack! Turn it harder.
No. That's when he just works with me.
Oh, okay.
See, I'm only allowed snubby wrenches because of these meaty forearms. It's like I'll turn a righty tighty into a lefty loosey real quick. And after my dad constantly repairing threads, he literally hands me the stubby everything. And I'm like, but Dad, he goes, no.
I can't put my hand on those stubby things.
You don't stop when it gets tight.
Well,
you just gotta go.
You join the same club of the large, industrial strength.
I'm not allowed to have a breaker bar unless I'm loosening something. But
no, in your case, it's a properly named tool.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a breaker bar. He breaks it, it's done.
Are you tired of living with the constant heads on your bolts? Check out the new Scott breaker bar. Snap. Unlike the headhunter. Anywho, back on track. So you learn by doing, and obviously you tell the big truck tool guy to go bye-bye.
Yep.
And so that's good. It's not good to own your soul to those people.
Not if you can help it. Not if you can help it. But I can see around here your sense of organization and your ability to be creative probably came to you fixing the, KC-135s were built in the 60s.
Yep.
So, we're talking about, he kept aircraft flying that were built back when Vietnam was still an upcoming thing, not...
Yes. Yeah, actually, my grandfather was in the Stratotankers when he was in the Air Force.
Your grandfather... Well, I can't say anything because, my dad was flying C-130s and that kind of stuff, before I came along, and they're still in the inventory today.
My buddy that's driving down from Holbert Field today is AC-130. Yep.
See, I'm trying not to make a joke with Kevin when he, did the Air Force and they fly pterodactyls, but
no,
that would be
can't go quite that far back. But no, I'm just sitting here thinking back. I do remember the predecessor to the AC-130, which is the AC-47, better known as Puff the Magic Dragon.
Was a Puff the Magic Dragon.
Yeah, the Dakota, as the Brits called it, and the DC-3 is what we're talking about.
Okay.
The DC-3 Goonie Bird is what they affectionately called, but they took a couple of them, and that was the first prototype. They took the Goonies, and they slapped some 50 cals and a small howitzer at that time in the side, basically painted a red dot on the wingtip and scratched crosshairs into the pilot's left side view. And that was how you aimed. And your lead, they realized they needed lead, so they would come in there and do additional hatches. And that's why if you've ever seen one of those, Scott, I'm sure you have, I've actually experienced live fire over in the theater. And they do what's called a 2-minute turn. That's a perfect 0G inside the aircraft as you orbit. And they'll put it into a 2-minute turn, put that dot, line the wingtip, the crosshairs, check their balls, and I don't mean that negatively, but that's your
instrumentation,
your instrumentation to make sure you're in a 2-minute turn. And if the three things all say, yeah, you're on the perfect path, you push the button. And all Hades breaks loose.
And you push the button and the plane moves to the right by a foot.
Oh, yeah.
It does, actually. I don't know if it's a foot, but it moves.
It moves.
Yeah.
No, and sorry, guys, you guys have heard this war story on the podcast before, but, when I was in theater, we were up on a roof in Liberty. Oh, there's a man. Look at the shells. Oh, there you go.
Video. These are all from Major Sheehan, my friend.
Yeah, so this is the big
Has
gun.
the date on it right there.
Wow.
February 16.
That was in Afghanistan. That was from
one IED gone.
Wow.
But we were sitting on the roof of our barracks and at night, right outside the small town of Abu Ghraib. And there was some insurgency action going on over there, and we were being shelled. The mortar shells weren't reaching us, but they're falling in no man's land. And the weird thing is normally you'd hear the Cobras come up, almost immediately, and nothing came up. Another shell, and again, any insurgent that lobbed mortar shells from one location more than 2 times was either nobody explained the side effects of doing that, or was just plain stupid. Yeah. And we had 3 shells go off, and we're going, something's wrong here. By now, the helicopter should have reduced that to rubble. And somebody said, well, I hear C-130 coming in. Okay, and we're like, it's got to be a Marine C-130 because they always flew at night coming in from Fallujah direction in the Al-Anbar province. And we were sitting there, and I said, what in the heck? They can't be trying to shoot down a C-130 with a mortar. Are they that crazy? Mm. Well, about the time, we were all going, where are the choppers? And we heard the fourth shwoomp go off, and you're waiting for the explosion. Hellfire split asunder. It was an AC-130 was coming into land, and basically rather than clear him and bring in the choppers, he's like, I still have rounds. And it took him a minute to get into a 2-minute turn with his pippers on the little 4-story Haji Crete facility that whoever was launching, well, we'll never know because the building evaporated. Mm-hmm. There's no way to describe it, Scott. It did not blow up. It did not.
It just turned into a concrete mist.
It just, it wasn't really concrete, but yeah, it just evaporated. And the strangest thing in the entire time that I was over in theater was silence. There wasn't a dog barking. There was no Aman calling prayer. There was none of the chatter that you always heard from the town. It was, and I'm sure it was like being in the mountains of Afghanistan when the Taliban was hiding for you, and it was dead quiet. And all you could hear was the breeze. And it was interrupted by one of my friends and cohorts on the roof going, geez, I'm glad they're on our side.
Yep.
So, yeah, been there, done that. Know what you're talking about. Appreciate the little picture. For those of you who see the video, this is awesome. He's sitting here with a shell that's every bit of 16 inches tall, and what's that, about 4 inches in diameter. Next to it is how many millimeter is that shell, would you say? That's probably
110.
This says 40 millimeter on the bottom.
That's a 40
This is a
millimeter.
105.
So that's a 105 howitzer, and that looks like a 50 mil.
Yeah.
50
The plan was to actually take this, make it a mug, and not a shot glass.
Cool.
Trying to get his unit patch. We're going to get it laser engraved. Maybe take it over to Bonnie Brock.
Yeah.
And get the laser engraving done and clean it all up.
That'd be cool.
Bonnie and Kenny of Specialty Motorsports and Specialty Powder Coating.
Yep.
So,
Throw them a quick little love.
Oh yeah.
So you started the shop after everything with going through the adventure, and now that you're here. So how long actually has the Jeep Lab been a business?
So I probably went, once I got the shop going, about a year before I decided to do it full time. I kept it open. What I started with was on the weekends. I was just kind of kept it like it was still my house. I let people come over,
drop by.
have a lot of specialty tools, bigger sockets and stuff that everybody didn't have. And kept it going like that, and or evenings, and did that for about a year until the people that weren't friends that were coming over started paying, and I started doing really good. And I said, you know what, the stress of the day job and being on call 24/7, and versus doing what I love and being able to cover all my bills and still go to more Jeep events, really opened up my schedule a lot more. So next month will be 2 years.
Awesome, man. Congratulations.
That's great.
Thank you.
That's absolutely great. Well, I haven't heard anybody complain at all about what you do here, other than maybe some of your competitors, but they don't count, right?
Well, you know what? You say competitors, but there's a lot of good shops in Tampa.
Oh, they are.
Yeah.
They
There's
are.
a lot of good shops.
And that was meant purely tongue-in-cheek.
Me and Ron Davis, we talk a lot of trash, but he's a good guy.
Oh, yeah. Well,
Yeah, and he even admits, it's like having you to go back and forth with and send work to each other is great.
Oh, yeah.
Because some days, he might have a whole bunch, and hey, look, just go see him. He'll take care of you right away.
Oh, yeah.
Ebb and flows. And it's really good to have that good business partner like that in a way.
Oh, yeah.
Because it really that whole paying it forward. But one of the things too on that same level is I see a lot of times on for social media is you're there to kind of help and guide new Jeepers and help them, give them some information. Of course, you're running a business,
right,
but you're also you're forthcoming with information to help and guide some people in the right direction, which is really cool. Mm-hmm. Most people would just say, well, just bring it by, I'll fix it. Some people don't have the cash sometimes.
Yeah, and it's hard too when people do post on social media. In some of our groups around here, there's 9,000 people in there. You're going to get 40 different answers,
Mm-hmm.
and it's really hard to give a good, true answer and not make the person run around in circles until you see the vehicle. So it is really easy for people to say, well, bring it by, and there are some things people put answers on there. It could be that, but as a shop owner, it could be that, but honestly, I would start here first because 90% of the Jeeps that come in, this is what it is first.
Right.
Not saying you're wrong, but I always go here first, then to there, and then to that.
And then you always put a little asterisk to that saying, well, once you check the quick and simple little things, I'm here if you want to bring it by.
Right.
And that's the cool part.
Right.
Yeah, that's better than just throwing money at it. And way back when, before both of you were born, that I was working in a garage, that was what we called parts changers. You had mechanics, but you had parts changers as well. Yeah. Parts changers couldn't diagnose to save their life, but they could swap parts real quick.
That was me with my Comanche. I had an 88 Jeep Comanche. Excuse me, lunch. And basically it was I had a intermittent miss. And everyone kept saying, well, it's a crankshaft sensor. Well, okay, all right, put a new crankshaft, still had the same problem. Okay, it could be this. Well, me being the parts game, I put a new coil in. Well, it could be this. I put a new computer in. Well, it could be this. I put a new distributor in. Okay, I have now spent $800 on a $500 truck. Yep. I called a good old boy shop. He said, it's probably this. Try that before you do anything. I'm like, okay, but money's already spent. And sure enough, it was the crankshaft position sensor wiring bypass I needed. That was $53 at the local Jeep dealership. So I spent $800 on a $500 truck for a $50 problem.
Yeah. So, my hat's off to anybody who is a mechanic, and you definitely shown yourself to be a mechanic first, which means you figure out what the problem is and you address the problem, not the symptoms. So, that's a good thing to hear and to see.
So basically, besides the Jeep Lab, you've been to I'm going to tease this a little bit because we're going to take a quick little commercial break. But when we get back, I want to hear about some of the Jeeps because I see a couple of them out there, and then you've been all over the place. You've been to have you been to Moab obviously, and Uwharrie, and all kinds of really cool stuff I want to get to. So we're going to touch that.
You're facing the wrong way. He's got a great big that says Moab Motorsports, Moab, Utah, USA, YouTube certified master automotive technician.
Yeah, shout out to Rory over at Moab Motorsports. Motorsports. If you haven't seen Trailmater, you got to go see that machine.
Yeah.
I'm begging him to let me come out to Moab and work with him a month on trail recovery. So, Rory, please say yes.
Well, hopefully they hear this. So we'll be right back, because after all, I do have the situational awareness of a soup can. So we'll be right back, guys. Hey guys and gals, don't forget to check out the lovely 4x4 Radio Network. Again, all the great shows on that network. And also, too, while you're on the interwebs and typing a lot of stuff into a keyboard, don't forget to check out Marc Lawson at the Jeep Lab and all of his social media, Facebook, Instagrams, and no website yet, but just do the Facebook and Instagrams. And don't forget WranglerFix.com. Send Mark over there, a quick little message. That's Mark with a K.
Versus Mark with a C.
Versus Mark with a C. And check out the stuff you guys need. So with that, we're going to jump back into some really cool stuff with Mark with a C.
Yep, that's me.
All right, so now that we're back, so let's talk about Jeeps. You talked a little bit about your OD Green new 97 TJ out there.
Yeah, what was new to him then?
Exactly. So what else you got in the stable?
So currently the 97 TJ has been swapped out with some Rubicon axles from an LJ. You'll probably see me around in an orange JKU 2013. I talked about my aunt a little bit earlier. It's her Jeep. She says it's mine now. We go back and forth. I build it. She just pays all the stuff for it.
Okay.
She told me to bring it home after our trip to Moab, and then in turn she bought an LJ.
Oh.
So now her focus is on the LJ, and she just wants me to take care of that one. But after hanging out,
using them keeps them good. You let them sit, they kind of go to pot. So.
Exactly, and that's what happened with the TJ being gone for a month. I came back and crankshaft sensor, and it was mad at me. So. So I got the TJ, the JKU, and then hanging out with some bad influences in Moab, Kobe Gagel, Chris Bako, Chuck Converse over at TNT Customs with some beautiful rigs. Got me inspired, and as soon as I got back, I bought an LJ tub, frame, Super Duty axles, and an LS motor in one of my shops now. So as soon as I find some time, I'd like to build that, and our plan is to have that done by King of the Hammers next year.
So that's over in TJLC,
yeah,
the Jeep Lab Building C.
Yep. Okay. Yep. It's actually in the Jeep Lab Fab shop right now.
Okay.
That's kind of cool. I mean, and that's the thing. LJs are becoming like the unicorn, the sought after ones, because it's that sweet spot. You get a little bit of extra leg room, and you still get the 4.0 liter. You still
get
a
whole lot better trail and road manners with that extra 18 inches or 16 inches.
Yeah, and not all the electric nannies from all the others. Forget it.
JK and JKUs, JLs and JLUs.
Yeah.
Yeah, wheel speed sensors that go bad, and steering wheel sensors that say your wheels talked over 5 degrees off dead center. And and one day those will be classic items too. So yeah. I'm not bad-mouthing them from that point of view, but from a guy who's still stressing over I don't have any points to adjust.
Kevin, why do you have these matchbooks? You don't smoke. Has to adjust my points.
Yes, sir.
So you got Ragnarok, and then isn't your other half into Jeeps too?
Yep. Andrea has a 17 JKU as well.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
My sister has a white JKU as well. My parents currently have. Well, now they have parts for a TJ from 5 TJs that we've torn down to rebuild their TJ.
Iggy.
Yep.
Iggy 2.0.
Iggy had an
will rise
unfortunate
again.
mechanical failure that turned into some damage to the vehicle, and we are rebuilding it from the ground up.
So that one you're consulting on, because that's being built by your dad at his space, right?
I'd love to say I'm consulting, but my back will tell you otherwise. I have been tearing down all the TJs for him.
No. But I'm saying the VIN tag is not here; it's over there.
Yeah, the VIN tag's there, but his license plate's here on the shelf.
He hasn't been consulting; he's been hand-salting.
Until he pays me, he's not getting his tag to drive it on the road.
Touche.
Oh, here comes the conversation.
So we're interviewing your dad next.
Yeah,
get his side of the story.
Yeah.
There's always 2 sides.
Oh,
so I heard you talking with Mark last week about a friend of yours or something like that does welding, and they have an LJ too. Is that another close family friend, or just another friend?
Just another friend.
Oh, okay, cool. Because LJs are everywhere around here,
Yeah.
Not when I was hunting. I couldn't find one to save my life. But hey, that's okay. Slightly altered works.
That's okay. Eventually we'll find your flat fender or something.
Yeah, something like that. I'll find me something.
Exactly.
So I see you're also doing some additions to your shop. When we got here, he was real quick to, oh, look, this is where my
new toys are at.
Yeah, and that new toy would be a?
That new toy is a Wright CNC plasma table.
Yep.
With a water table.
And he was just absolutely heartbroken that he couldn't use his existing plasma. He had to go out and buy a new plasma.
Oh, shucks.
So horrible when you have to buy a new tool. I'm just heartbroken for you and jealous as hell.
Yeah, no, it wasn't really an expected purchase. I mean, with the Jeep Lab and turning wrenches and whatnot, I really enjoy it. I do have a kind of side to me that likes to create and design and build, and
make it your own.
And this is really gonna open up some of that stuff. So a lot of it initially will be me playing with a couple different things, and you'll probably see some of my Jeeps with some new stuff on it. And
let me see. I'm going to do the Karnak impression. I see a new tool coming shortly after. I see a new tool. Because when you start cutting brackets, you have to bend the brackets. So I can see a press brake coming in the not too distant future.
It might already be in the cart. I just have to cite that card.
Yeah, that's Yep.
Yeah,
that's kind of critical.
Yeah, so we were actually at SEMA where I ran into you guys there this year. And Wright CNC is out of Las Vegas, and they had this set up there, and it's a brand new line, and it ships February 17th. So the new compressor is here. Some of the drying systems are there. And basically, I got the new Hypotherm XP45 in with the machine tip for that, and man, I'm itching for that thing to get here.
I'm glad Kevin knows all this, because to me, this is just like alphabet soup.
Oh, no. I'm sitting over here. Can't you tell I need a rag? I'm salad.
Hey, I'm not going to lie. This is new to me. It's a big learning. So in the process, I probably should have done more research before I bought the table, because I didn't realize that my current plasma wasn't going to work. I didn't realize the drying, how much the dry air plays into the plasma cutting clean cuts. So I've spent a small fortune in a refrigerator dryer, some desiccants that go in there to help clean it and all as well. So it's a learning curve. So no, I'm not going to be as big as some of these other companies right off the bat, but I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, and I'm just curious, have you decided on what your CAD software is going to be, or are you going to work in the actual software that comes with the table?
I think they do offer a couple.
Yeah.
As I say, I think the IT department's over there rebuilding his his metal cloak to track bar right now.
Yeah, my IT guy with my laptop.
Say
just showed
hi,
up.
IT department.
Chris Perez, shout out. Thank you, sir. Phantom.
There goes a hello.
But there's like Fusion 360.
I'm learning that myself.
Yeah, and then there's a couple more. So basically, we're going to be playing and see just which ones work really best with me and which ones I pick up. The cool thing with Wright CNC is they actually offer a course, so I can fly out to Vegas, spend a weekend, and they'll run through everything with me.
Yeah.
So maybe I'll go back to Vegas. It really, if I'm struggling, I feel like then it might be worth it. But I think I can.
But also,
figure it out.
if you get stuck in Fusion 360, feel free to give me a shout, since I'm just down the road a little bit. And I've been working in Fusion 360 for about a year now.
Okay.
Still learning. It's nothing that you learn overnight.
Yeah.
But most of what you do in plasma is 2D, which is called a sketch in Fusion 360, as opposed to a full component, which is a 3D rendering. There's really not a need for 3D for cutting, because the plasma is just going to follow the single line drawing. Yeah. And that's pretty straightforward and easy to do. But then you have to get a software that then takes a DXF, now Fusion 360 may go straight to the what's it called, the Is it G3 code or G5 code? That's what the plasma cutter cuts. Yeah. And everything that I've talked, because I've been looking into building one or buying one myself when I get my new shop next year, is you have to play with it. Don't expect it to be perfect, because tip speed is probably the single most critical element that you control on that. So, and I look forward to getting one myself to learning that, because if you cut too fast, obviously you don't cut through. If you cut too slow, you get all kinds of flaring of the cut, dross underneath. There's that sweet spot, though, that you make a library going, okay, it's this steel, hot rolled 1/8. Yeah. Problem is that all depends on who's your rolling mill.
Right, and then like that's why I spent a lot of money on the whole air drying system too, is because they said that can play a big role into it. There's a lot of forums, and the same thing. You ask one question to 9,000 people, you're going to get 40 different answers. But I kind of went overkill, I think. But we are in Florida. The humidity here is horrible, and
30% of the air is water. So you got to.
Hey, the air's not bad. You just have to take it in small slices.
Yeah, swallow in between each breath. So
exactly.
Well, I tell you what, when I get the table all set up, maybe you can come over and we can make a cool logo out of on the trail. We can cut out a nice little sign or something like that.
Bye, Scott.
Buy nothing. I'm going to be the one here filming it.
Yeah. We'll have to get you a flare filter for the lens.
Well, if any of the past experiences will play into this, you're going to rise to the challenge and you're going to tackle it and you're going to come on the top. Because you do have that work ethic, like again, your tools set aside, the cleanliness of the shop that we talked about, that kind of mindset generally tends to tackle new things very easily and adapt very quickly because you got your ducks in a row.
That's the Air Force's fault.
Yeah. The Army did the same thing. They kind of beat it into you. You know?
Yeah.
You remember talking earlier conversation about the belt?
Yeah.
They used a very large stick.
Oh, no, this is me and driving all the way home from Cape Coral and my dad going, "Did you use my torque wrench last?" "Yeah, turn around." "Dad, I'm at the Skyway." "Turn around." And I turned around, went all the way back to his shop, and went back to his tool cart and put all the tools away I did, and made sure. And I did not argue, and I knew what I did wrong. My dad had a specific instructions to treat your tools like money, and accordingly, you treat your tools well, they'll always be there for you. I drive poor Kevin crazy. We'll be working on something.
He won't let me finish.
I
the
just
task.
had the 10 mil. Where is it? Back in your drawer.
That guy?
Yeah,
he can't come here then.
It's back in your drawer.
It's one thing if I say, "Okay, I'm done with this." That's fine, but it's like, okay, I got the bolt off and I set it down, and let me go to the next bolt.
It's in your magnetic tray next to the other one.
And see, that's why when I was letting people come over here, when I first started and helping them and letting them do stuff, I started making it to where it was Saturdays only because that exactly thing would happen. I'd have a customer's vehicle and I'd be working on it, and someone's like, "Oh, I just need to borrow that real quick." I'm like, "I'm on the clock over here."
Yeah.
So now customer vehicles are Tuesday through Friday. Shops open for coming by and hanging out and wrenching on Saturdays. That way I don't get frustrated and the tools are just there.
Yeah. Well, but I do. It's nice that Scott picks up behind me. I got to teach him though to take the rag and wipe the grease off.
Don't you dare! I already do that. I'm using your shirt, but I do it. So, speaking of past experiences and whatnot, man, I got to get, because I want to get into this subject. I am chomping at the bit because you have lived most Jeepers' dreams.
Yeah.
Moab, the 24-hour or 36 hours of 20, how many numbers was it?
2 years will be set. No, 36 hours.
36 hours of Uwari. You've been to all these really cool places, man. Come on, Dish, dude. We got to know.
Yeah, I'm very fortunate. Like I said, that was the big jump, is doing this. Working 9 to 5, and you got to live. You got to enjoy life. And I love what I do, and it frees up my time a little bit more to go do more experiences. So yeah.
Well, some of that's actually OJT in a manner of speaking.
It really is. But 36 hours Uwari is more for my personal side. It was I like a challenge. I love being outdoors. And for those of you who don't know, it was hosted by BF Goodrich, was the main sponsor. They didn't have it this year, but I think it ran for 3 years because I did it 2 years and I missed the first year. But it's 36 hours, you name it. Imagine just you being out in a Jeep and you're trail riding with your buddy and something happens, whether you break a U-joint in your Jeep, or you have a mechanical failure, or you're just on a really hard trail and it's you and another Jeep out there and you got to find ways to recover, and they put you in some scenarios and get your way out. But a lot of it's practical stuff that can truly happen. And man, it was a blast.
Cool. So like Moab, you went out there. Was that like you drove your Jeep out there the whole time, or?
So Moab was for an event that we applied for. Crawl America was the event, so we did have to apply. And they move around each year.
Right.
And then I saw that it was in Moab, and I'm like, "Hey man, I've never been." And I started talking to my aunt. I'm like, "You want to take Ragnar out there? You want to do this?" And she's like, "Yeah, let's apply." And we got approved. They take 30 Jeeps. From all over, and we did. We trailered our Jeep all the way out there. We wheeled it for the entire week. We ended up stopping in Hogan's Off-Road Park in Oklahoma on the way home. Really didn't know about it, and I saw Kenny and Bonnie Brock over at Specialty that they were there a couple weeks before us. And I said, "Hey, it's on the way home. Let's go check it out too." They said it was a great park, and It was really nice. So we spent just a day there, though.
Right.
Kind of ready to get home after all of that, and then drove back to Florida.
Cool. Very nice, man. Because that's one of the things, like, Florida, it's not a whole lot of wheeling around here. Usually you have to
there's a lot of wheeling. It's just all sand.
Yeah, well, I mean,
Flat sand.
Kevin got me spoiled. I went to Jasper a couple times, actually about 3 times, I think.
Yeah.
And that was a whole new experience for me, because what we have up there is like hard rock, and again,
I showed him no mercy in the fact that, they're all, well, this is the starting trail. That's what we do for the first half of the first day to get everybody warmed up.
Yeah.
And then it's like, I still remember the vertical with Dory going up the wash crack, and there was no flat surface. You had to straddle the whole thing up there and drive holding on with the side biters. You better have tires with good side tread. Yeah. And, I went up it, and I'm standing at the top going, who's following? And that was Dory.
Yeah, no fear. Vroom.
Yeah, well, she slid in once and told, I can remember shouting to that, pull in your mirror, huh? Pull in your mirror now. Okay, click. And she pulled it in just in time as we went, she said, what do I do now? I said, turn into the hill. But there's turn into the hill, turn your wheels hard and start and just punch it. And she did, and she came right up out of it and climbed, and she got at the top and was doing quite a little victory dance.
That's right.
That's the best thing about traveling is to me it's always challenging. You go to a different place. When I went to Moab, I like not being the leader.
Yeah.
I was able to be a follower. There's a lot of pressure when you're the trail leader. You're the guy spotting.
Amen.
You feel a sense of responsibility for some of these your friends' vehicles. And at Moab, I was able to take a back step. Not a lot of people were, hey Mark, can you help me? Can you do it? And even though I enjoy helping people, but I took a step back and I learned a lot as a wheeler. It was like hot sandpaper. We were out there in June, so some of the angles you're running, you're like, oh my God, I feel like the TJ should have rolled backwards already, that's next to me, and it didn't, whereas here in Florida, you went something that steep, either you're slipping out from underneath you or you are flipping it back.
Because of the sink factor, you don't realize that your angle of attack's, in aircraft terms, your angle of attack's higher than what it appears when you're on sand.
Yeah.
But slick rock's at least solid, you know. So how did you enjoy climbing rocks and doing that kind of broken rock?
Oh, I loved it. The first day the group threw us to the wolves. For those who don't know, we went to a Moab Rim on day one.
To the rim on day one.
Yeah.
That's no mercy.
Yeah. We've got a video of Ragnar's front tire about 3 foot off the ground.
Yeah.
With about a Jeep's length behind it from the back of the cliff. So that was interesting. That was my aunt was driving. I was spotting. So, it's, again, thank you, Chuck Converse. He was probably the best spotter leader we could have had. That guy knows that place pretty well, but
and so
it was different. I loved it.
Were you in the cardiac ward after that?
No, I'm not going to lie. I think I walked most of Moab Rim because I was spotting. My aunt only trusts me as her spotter. I did a lot of spotting that day. I did a lot of walking that day. But for those who don't know, Moab Rim, you have to come right back down it. Mm-hmm. So it's a different, thing going up it, and then it's a whole different plan of attack coming down it.
Yeah, because now all of a sudden, instead of being nose heavy uphill, you're nose heavy downhill.
Yep.
Yeah, and all of a sudden you feel those back tires kind of
start floating.
You're like, oh.
Ask Jason Meeks about it in his two-door JK.
Did he actually?
He did pretty well.
He standing on the nose?
No, he didn't. But
he got close.
He drove that thing pretty well.
We had a similar experience when Dory and I first started, jeeping with groups in this area. We went out with a now defunct group, and Walt, Gimmick. Do you ever know Walt? Gimmick?
No.
He had Yellow Dog, the yellow Jeep Rubicon, and he's like, just follow us, just put it in second gear, low, and I'll follow you through. We're bone stock Rubicon at the time, 4-door. And so we go down this hill, and it's near 45. It's a whole 9 yards. I feel the back end getting light, and Dory's like, what do I do? I said, follow Walt, because Dory's driving. We're going up and down these climbs, and it's an R pit off 75. Okay. And we're going all these crazy jumps, and one area goes, it goes a hard left and straight up another steep, almost vertical climb. He goes right up it. We go right up it, and a little bit of skinny pedal because again we bottomed out a little bit, and then we get to a certain stop. He jumps out of the Jeep. He goes, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I forgot you were behind me." And we're just sitting here like going, freaking out. He's like, "I am so sorry. I literally forgot you were behind."
Hold that thought. We have a small crisis.
Okay.
So, freeze.
Yes, freeze.
We'll be right back. Hey, folks, we're back. Sorry for the delay of a dead battery and customers.
Exactly. This is a true shop that comes by, and business takes pleasure. And the cool thing is like your customers all know you by name, and they're really cool people. And it's interesting how a shop can almost become part of the community. Mm-hmm. That's one of the things I want to cover.
I think he's beyond community. I think he's part of the family.
Well, exactly.
Another satisfied customer.
Yeah, I don't know if you know we're actually recording, but
it doesn't matter.
It's all part of the experience, man. But I see a lot of times where again, a lot of times you get into a situation with social media. People are like, oh, try this guy. You're one of the first up there, and I know I've been around the social media enough to know that when someone I don't know where I'm going with this, but the point is that your customers are family, like you talked about, and they will go to bat for you no matter what.
Yeah,
and that's to find a good customer base like that is kind of rare nowadays because everyone's so quick to drop somebody because of a bad service or whatever. It's cool to actually have that, almost like you're the Jeep Lab Army.
It's a following and a clientele base rather than a customer base.
Yeah, I think this. See, I like the way he can bring it up in 3 words, and I'm the one that stumbles over an entire. I trip over a dictionary.
Well, if you read it instead of used it as a doorstop, maybe you wouldn't trip over it so much.
Yeah, I think my customer base and that have now become basically friends, and I think the reason why they're very loyal is I try to not just be the shop. I try to help them understand the product that they're getting. There's a lot of people that want to say, hey, go buy X brand because it's the best out there. You're right, but you still should understand why you bought X brand, why X brand benefits you in this situation. Whereas I make more money if I sell this brand because my profit percentage is better, so let me just sell you that.
Yeah.
And we know a few things like that.
Yeah, and so I think that goes a long way because the customer feels like, hey, this guy actually spent some time, and explain things to me. And people, I find that people don't mind spending a little bit more money if they fully understand why.
Yeah.
And that's the thing about the Jeep market, and especially our market here in Tampa alone is you've got people that have Jeeps that just want to go to the beach and take the top off. You've got people who want to go hang out at the mall and look beautiful. You got people who want to go out of state and and take their Jeep. So there's a lot of different Jeepers we have here, and it works, and they're awesome.
And no, folks, I did not prep him for that. This is his opinion. Mark, that's my thing is first thing out of the box is what do you want to do with Jeep? How are you going to use your Jeep?
Yeah,
because what you choose to do varies depending on what you want to do with the Jeep. You wouldn't set up like you said, a daily driver, one that mom wants a minivan that looks cooler than a minivan. Right. So she wants this look, but that lever or by the side of the transmission hump that has 2W, 4W, some X thingy, it's never going to get touched. So, right. That person needs one type of a system. The other guy that comes in here and you take one look at his Jeep and it's more dent than body panel. And
I like that you guys say that because I feel like when I ask that question, it may come off not the right way. Like, okay, well, how much money do you have and what do you want to do?
Yeah.
Because they're like, oh, well, this guy is just trying to sell me as much as he can. And really, that's not it at all.
Yeah.
I need to know your budget.
Yep.
And then what I do as a professional, I put you in the best thing for that budget. That is my goal as a shop.
And for that need, for that use.
And then that's the other thing, too, is what do you plan on doing with this? Because we can slow down the process. I know a lot of us get these Jeeps and we want to go and build.
Right.
But a lot of people do get involved, and it's the casual trip to Citrus or Croom, which are local spots here in Tampa. Mm-hmm. And then you see them 2 years down the road, and they're in Moab, and they're in Arizona, and they've probably gone through 3 different lifts.
Yep.
Yeah.
Whereas if we could have sat down and maybe waited a little bit longer, and we could have saved you a lot of money and a lot of less time at the shop, which might hurt me in the long run business wise, but
I doubt it.
But like being honest and open and communicating and talking back and forth and really sitting down will go a long way for them as a customer. I mean, my phone, I'm surprised, I guess it's on silent right now, but when I'm in here in the shop, I'm a one-man band for the most part, and it blows up all day long with so many people just, well, what do you think about this? Someone told me this. It's like, come by.
Come by.
Let's talk. Let's have a normal conversation and hang out and really figure out what you want to do and what's going to work best for you. Because the last thing I want is for you to go bankrupt trying to build a Jeep, and then you have to sell the Jeep, and then you're no longer a Jeeper.
And we talked about this last show, and Kevin and I are big proponents of this, is that be forthcoming with the information, ask questions, and we talk about it. We expound on this 1,000 times. It's okay to bench build.
Yeah.
You know, I think bench building is the greatest exercise out there.
And the more information people give to you, the more you can plan for the future. And I mean, I make the joke several times is I've spent almost $1,500 on my budget lift that I've just cobbled together by a bunch of crud that I could have just saved a little extra and bought the nicer lift to begin with. Instead, I'm now out $1,500 plus the new lift I'm going to purchase.
Yep.
So take that time to talk to you, be forthcoming, and be honest with yourself. You're going to change as a wheeler.
Well, and a lot of people that are new to the Jeep community will see stuff they like. Yeah. I like that. I want that. But what I always say is in a couple months or a couple experiences or a couple events, they find stuff that they love.
Yeah. Oh,
and then they wasted money because but I love that one. And I only like that one.
And this is where we talked about like being forthcoming with information, honest with yourself, because you brought up something that me and Kevin earlier, when I said, what is the one thing you want people to take away from this show and one biggest piece of advice you could give people?
Oh, yeah.
And you said the best thing. And some people will, well, wait a minute. He just wanted me to promise to do all this stuff and talk to you and buy this stuff and buy that. It's a balancing act.
Yep.
You talked about how the one thing you wish people would do more is learn about their Jeep.
100%.
Get out there and learn it. So what you mean by that is like go out and experience your Jeep as it is.
Mm-hmm. You'll find out that a stock Jeep is remarkably capable.
And grow the Jeep with your skills.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'll let you talk about what
I've
been
waiting all show long to talk about that one. Yeah, you mentioned it earlier, and you said a stock Jeep is very capable. I was in Roush Creek, Pennsylvania not too long ago, and there was a gentleman in a stock Jeep, and it's been a while since I'd been in a stock Jeep, and I was surprised at this gentleman, what he was able to do in this stock Jeep because he knew how to drive it. Mm-hmm. And on the other side, we've got people around here that are throwing, Dana 60s under their Jeep, and they don't even know how to do it. They don't know what to use. It's like you can't just throw money at these things and expect them to get you out of every situation, And it's crazy because Jeeping is not cheap, right?
No.
But if some people spent some time, especially with the internet now, YouTube, and there's a lot of schools out there. Unfortunately, this is one of my things I want to work on. Down here in the South, there's not a lot of schools that teach about recovery, that teach about, wheeling and off-roading. And we don't have the best of places to do it, but there's some scenarios you can put yourself into to better your skills and your abilities. And there's nothing wrong with if you can't get your Jeep all the way out to Moab, go out there and ride with somebody. Mm-hmm. There's people out there that you can meet on the internet, and I can send you in their direction. I'm sure they'd love to take you out on the trail and show you some awesome things. But if you spent some of the money that these guys are throwing, these women are throwing at Jeeps on learning how to Jeep, I think they'd be able to do a lot more, and they'd appreciate it a lot more too.
Sounds like someone's taking a floor jack out for a brisk afternoon drag.
Yeah, I think he is.
That's fine.
I've talked to a couple people local that there's some organizations that will train and certify you as recovery coaches and instructors, and that's something on my personal side I'd like to do, which also kind of tied into the whole Trail Team Challenge that I hosted last year. We postponed it this year just because since the Jeep Ranch closed, it's been hard to find a spot that's not going to cost a lot of money, which in turn is going to cost the competitors a lot of money.
Yep.
But a lot of insurance and logistics and whatnot. So we're postponing it. But the Trail Team Challenge was very similar to the 36 Hours UARI. What we did is you and a buddy were out on a trail, and we gave them 30 challenges, and they had basically 2 days to complete the 30 challenges. And a lot of the guys had a blast and loved it and been begging for the next one to come and talking to their buddies. So I'm kind of sad that I've got to move it. But again, I did mention I want to go to King of Hammers next year, which is February as well. And that's when Trail Team Challenge is. So trying to find a date that works with the community to be able to grow it. But
one of the places where Crawling for the Fallen was, the firm actually had a little ad coming up where they're going to start hosting. It looked like, again, check the website for exact information about off-road classes. And how-to stuff. So again, double check with them to make sure. But they want to get out there and get that information known so people can learn their Jeeps. But again, it all comes down to if you want to put 60s on your Jeep and go to the mall and have it shiny and to be the new, that's cool. But I agree with you is that grow with your Jeep.
Yes.
Take it out, learn at factory, and then okay, what would be the best way for me to spend the money once, so I can upgrade that later? And I'm kind of leaning more towards, and I'm seeing a lot of this actually on social media, is it's the biggest expense, and it's the probably the best expense, is get your bumper and get your winch. Mm-hmm. Just get that out of the way.
Yep.
You know, it'll sit and look fine on a factory Jeep, and you can use it, and that piece of equipment will come in handy more than a lift or bigger tires will.
Yep, functional.
You know, it's one of those kind of things. And again, Kevin will say fire extinguisher, which he's right.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I still to this day think that should be standard equipment.
Yeah.
That really shouldn't be optional. But that's just mine. You all have heard it on the show before. Mine is mounted on my roll cage in visual sight of somebody outside the Jeep. Yes, it means it could be stolen, but I'll buy another one.
Yep.
I'd rather have it where it can be grabbed in a hurry. The only thing, and you say fire extinguisher as we hear a fire engine go by behind us. The one thing I'll caution everybody, I just got to add this little safety tidbit. If you got smoke coming out the hood, please, I know you're going to unlatch it. Mm-hmm. Don't flip the hood up. That burst of oxygen will usually cause a fireball in your face, and then you can't rescue your Jeep or yourself. Yeah. So follow the rules on the extinguisher. If you crack the hood open just an inch and shoot under the hood lid, then open the hood slowly. Yeah. Fire extinguisher ready. But with that, I get away from that. You know,
well,
that's just
I want to tag on to your fire extinguisher thing, because before this, my full-time job was working for a fire company, and I saw a gentleman on YouTube watch his JKU go down in flames in the desert. I forget the gentleman's name, but fire extinguishers are nice, but make sure you get one that actually do something. Those little 2-pounders will not do anything to your Jeep. You need at least a 5 to 10. In some of the events, like we had to have a minimum of a 10-pounder, and it had to be within reach of the driver. Mm-hmm. Those were the specific rules. I think even at Crawl America, we had to have a minimum fire extinguisher, and it had to be in reach of the driver. So those are big things as well. And in the fire industry that I did, we did a lot of suppression systems, and they make those for Jeeps. I'm surprised that some of these people that spend as much money as they do on their rigs do not have suppression systems.
So these are the ones with the bottles and
there's bottles,
the pull cord, as well as the thermal,
releases.
the automatic releases of a fire under hood or stuff
Correct.
like that.
Yeah, they've got tips where if it gets to a certain temperature, they'll automatically discharge. You don't even have to open the hood. There's different chemicals that you can get that will not damage your electronics. Yep. So, I mean, you can literally, it's a very simple kit to install. It's got braided steel lines that go, and you just locate them wherever you want. And then, if you have to discharge a system, you discharge a system, potentially save your Jeep, your life, and refill the bottle down the road. And you can get them refilled around town.
Oh,
that's a very good thing that I did not know.
I didn't know.
For a couple $100, you can save a $100,000 rig.
Well, think of it this way. Most, if not, are between $500 to $250 deductible. A $200 fire system at least saves you your deductible.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, come on. I mean,
and the time and a lot of Jeepers, do a lot of stuff at home, like the time that you put into these rigs and the memories that you've made with your family out on the trails, to sit there and go, because you bought a 2-pound fire extinguisher, you weren't able to save it. God, that's
first I've heard the 2-pounder, because I worked with our fire team on base, and they were. I guess it depends on when you catch it.
Exactly.
Because if I catch it early, a 2-pounder will put out, and I've used it on a vehicle. Unfortunately, never on mine. Yeah. Mine's been replaced because I've grabbed it and used it on someone else's. But if you're specifically talking about a fully engulfed, I could see how a 10-pounder might not be enough. Yeah. But no, that's good to know.
It's your level of what you think you may need, basically.
No, I'm probably going to upgrade to at least a 5. Yeah. Because, but
you're gonna sell the 2-pounder?
No, I might go out and practice with it.
He might keep it as a backup, just
hitting me over the head.
No. It's just convenient for those one-offs. And like I say, we came upon a rig it wasn't a Jeep, it was a truck, and he was smoldering on the side of the road, and pulled over to see if it would help, and the person wanted to open the hood, and we. As soon as you crack the hood open, I saw orange, and I'm like, well, here goes. And we dumped the whole canister underneath. About half of it at first, and then started lifting the hood to where I could see and targeted it. And he'd had a ruptured fuel line that had leaked down onto the gas, onto the exhaust manifold. And funny how it doesn't go off immediately. Just because you vaporize it, it has to have an ignition source. But eventually he had an ignition, apparently, in it. Yeah. it flashed, and the leak wasn't that big, so I was able to get it under control. But even as we sat there, emptying the thing out, I could see where the dry powder just kept getting wet. Because the gas was still running, and I said, "Did you turn the key off?" Well, no, go turn it off now.
Yeah.
So the pump shuts down.
Oh wow,
cool.
But yeah, so no, I could see that because we used every last drop out of that 2-pounder, and had that fire flared again, the best I could have done was close the hood and
hopefully smother it.
Wish it goodbye.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. If you're off road too, and then we're here in Florida and it's dry out.
You could start the whole citrus on fire again.
You very much could. We went wheeling at Three Lakes Wildlife Management Area one time, and it was very wet. It was right after a hurricane, and we were pretty much wheeling in the swamp. And when we got out, we stopped for a minute before we got back on the road. I said, "Hey guys, pull all that stuff out from underneath your Jeep, all that grass."
Yeah.
And I don't know if
the
person wasn't listening or not, but we got halfway down the road. We were all going to grab lunch, and we pulled into the parking lot, and his brand new JKU that was 2 weeks old had a flame underneath it, and it was because all that dried grass had already dried up sitting on his heat shield, and it caught fire. And I immediately grabbed my fire extinguisher and put it out and saved the guy's Jeep. But it was that quick, man. And
yeah.
It happens.
Well, I can still remember from the early days of cats when they were newer and higher temperature without shielding, and you used to have restrictions of do not drive in a grass field. Don't take this off road, because just you driving across, dry grass, you could actually start a field fire.
Actually, the JKs when they first came out had a recall about it because the shields for the transmission or transfer case, one of them was actually a big sheet of sheet metal. And it was scooping up and then right there by the catalytic converter. So now if you look at our newer JK, you get that one bar with a tiny little landing strip of metal. And that's all you get now.
Yep. So stuff falls out the other side.
Yeah. But, Mark, we really appreciate having you on the show this
Thanks for having me, guys.
Anything else you want to talk about real quickly? Or?
No, just Jeep community is a great community. I met a lot of great people in it. And it's got a little bit of everybody in it. So that's the cool thing is seeing all different types of Jeeps and Jeepers out there, and families and single individuals, and just love the community. And if you guys have questions too, man, feel free to hit me up.
Well, and that begs the question, Mark, regardless, obviously for those in the Tampa region, but if you're not in the Tampa region and you're traveling over here and bringing your Jeep or just want to stop by, how do they find you and how do they get a hold of you?
So I mainly use social media. So I've got Facebook. The Tampa Jeep Lab is our Facebook page.
So with the word "the" Tampa Jeep Lab, 4 words?
Yeah.
Okay.
On there. And then Instagram is Tampa Jeep Lab.
Tampa Jeep Lab. So,
and then if you're interested in some of my crazy trips to Moab and 36 hours of Uwharrie and King of Hammers next year, we have a page called Team Jeep Lab.
Okay.
So that's what I do all my competition stuff on and kind of my stuff off the clock shenanigans. So there'll be some stuff on there.
So folks, there you go. That's how you get a hold of him, and that's how you get some answers and get, if you need him, come out and see him. He is a great shop here in the Tampa region. He's kind of he's kind of between Tampa and Brandon is the best way to describe it.
Hard Rock Casino, that's what I tell everybody. I'm near the Hard Rock Casino.
Well, that's true. There's a landmark for you, Hard Rock Casino. He's northwest of Hard Rock.
Yep.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
A lot of my customers spend their money there while they're waiting on their Jeep. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Hopefully they're winning while they're there. And
I was going to say, otherwise they may be coming back in saying, well, here's my title.
Can I pick up my Jeep another day?
25 days, $25 a day storage.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm ruthless.
You are that.
But social media is the big thing. I don't have a website, but hit me up on social media anytime or my private page. Answer questions. And that's the one thing I want to add too. I am a shop owner. But for all the new Jeepers out there, get multiple opinions. Please get multiple opinions. I've made mistakes too, but sticking up and honoring and fixing those mistakes is a big thing. But get multiple opinions, because I don't like people being taken advantage of. And there's could be other things out there that it could be before you start spending a lot of money.
That's good.
A lot of money.
Good. Yeah. You want to get the mechanic who can actually determine the cause,
correct,
and not just fix a symptom.
Yep.
Yeah, pretty much. So, well, with that, Kevin, I think it's time we put the Jeep in 4 low. What do you think?
Lock hubs and hit the trail. I'm ready for that any day. You know that.
And don't forget to take your memories, pictures, and your trash when you leave the trail. Did I get it right that time?
You did. You actually got it right that time.
And I was able to get it out, too, without mumbling on my words.
Yep. So, folks, appreciate that. And look forward to the next couple of shows. We'll be getting that out there soon. Oh, heavens. That's going to put us all the way into March.
Wow. This year's flying by.
Well, March has significance for me because I have to add another digit to the age, so that officially makes me even older.
I'm going to spare you the Smithsonian joke. All right, so
I like the Smith song.
it's a really cool place.
It is.
All right,
Did you say
guys.
last week?
And gals, you have a very fun time, and we will catch you on the next episode of On the Trail with Kevin and Scott.
Bye now.
Bye.
Proceeding has been provided for entertainment only. Proper service and repair procedures are vital to the safe, reliable operation of all motor vehicles, as well as personal safety of those performing those repairs. Standard safety procedures and precaution, including the use of safety goggles and proper tools and equipment, should be followed at all times to eliminate the possibility of personal injury or improper service which could damage the vehicle or compromise its safety.
What he said. Thanks a lot for listening, guys. You guys have a great day.
Bye.
This has been a Bent Axle Media production.